All right, Trump's Iran blockade has Iran's leadership terrified. Let's check it out. Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. The White House's new tactic on Iran appears to be working like a charm. Starve the regime either out of power or down to its knees with this massive blockade. Central Command revealing the blockade of Iranian ports has now been fully implemented, and that an Iranian-flagged oil tanker tried to hug Iran's coastline on Tuesday and try to get around that blockade. An American-guided missile destroyer, a huge warship, sent it right back to its Iranian port. 10 ships carrying Iranian oil trying to get out of the Gulf have now been turned around in just a few days. CENTCOM says 0 Iranian-linked vessels have made it out of the Persian Gulf since the blockade started on Monday, and this is inflicting a tremendous amount of pain. This move shuts down about 90% of Iran's economy. We're not just blocking oil, we're also blocking all sea trade into and out of Iran.
With respect to the blockade, as you know, it has been fully implemented, and it's being enforced against vessels of all nations entering or departing Iranian ports. I want to make that point clear. This includes all Iranian ports on the Arabian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. And our U.S. forces in the region are supporting the freedom of navigation for vessels that are transiting the Strait to and from non-Iranian ports.
Don't want to get too excited, but this feels like the tactic that's really going to work here. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent today explaining Operation Economic Fury. His side, the Treasury side, the contribution from Treasury to Epic Fury. Bessent going after the regime money and saying he's getting a lot of help that you might not expect from other Gulf Arab states after Iran made a major miscalculation in attacking them.
We have pushed out to them the request that we want to freeze more funds of the leadership of the IRGC and any members of Iranian leadership. The other thing that we have done is we have told countries that if you are buying Iranian oil, that if Iranian money is sitting in your banks, we are now willing to apply secondary sanctions, which is a very stern measure.
This is going to really hurt really quick. This morning, Trump on Fox Business saying he believes the war is close to over and the negotiating team believes they're dealing with a much less radical regime that's getting very desperate. Bloomberg reporting a possible ceasefire extension for another 2 weeks, although Trump is saying he doubts that will be necessary. Axios claiming a deal is closer than ever. Draft proposals of a peace agreement are in the works. A deal with Trump, though, as you know, would be much different than the deal that Iran got from Obama, the JCPOA. There is no way that this president would ever sign off on a humiliating agreement like the JCPOA that could easily be cheated. So there is a peace deal. The point is this: you can trust that it'll be fully verifiable. And it'll mean that this regime in Iran has realized that there's no way they can continue to export terrorism and threaten the West and build nuclear bombs. Bringing the regime to accept that reality, though, has not been easy. That's what this whole process has been. Getting them to accept that they no longer are going to be able to do what they've done for 47 years. It has meant 7 weeks of this operation now, despite this operation being broadly unpopular with the American people. But as we know, the president doesn't make focus grouped decisions. He doesn't work like that. That's why he's so refreshing. It does appear what is left of the regime in Iran is realizing that there is no way that they're wiggling out of this with the usual games that they've played with the West for such a long time. Israeli media reporting that Iran's president is getting quite panicked.
After the Iranian delegation returned from Pakistan, they met with Pezeshkian. I understand that Pezeshkian went berserk and raged at them. He didn't get into the technical details. He just tried to figure out, why didn't you come back with an agreement or anything related to it? I need money. My sources say he started yelling and went crazy ranting at the people who returned from Pakistan and told them our economy could collapse in 2 to 3 weeks.
Economy could collapse in 2 or 3 weeks. A panicked president of Iran. And that was before the blockade was implemented. Iran could be just days away from a collapse at this point. Vast defections, power struggle, proxies abandoning the regime, no money for IRGC soldiers, no money for the army, the besieged. Everything changes very fast in a country when the money dries up. Iran will either fully capitulate to the United States and sign a real nuclear deal that truly ends the program, allows surprise inspections, demands endless transparency, and ends all proxy terror support, or their other option will be they collapse and they'll all be killed. Richard Goldberg, former director for countering Iranian weapons of mass destruction for the White House National Security Council, joins us now. Also have Khosro Isfahani, senior analyst for the National Union for Democracy in Iran. Good to have you both here. Richard, this tactic seems to be far more effective than just the continued bombing of this decimated regime, right?
Well, that's exactly right. And it also makes sense from a sequencing perspective, right? Because if you were trying to start with a blockade like this, you would imagine Ali Khamenei would still be alive and he'd be firing off missiles and drones all over the Gulf the way that they did over the last several weeks. And that would have been, having to divert all that naval force away from trying to enforce a blockade over to offensive military operations. So if you're sequencing the conflict, you want to start your operation with the element of surprise, decapitation of the regime, command and control, communications degraded, try to go through as many of the targets as you can from air and sea, and then move to ceasefire, which is what President Trump did, divert those naval resources to both blockade and reopening the Strait. I think this is perfectly sequenced. There was strategy in this all along.
Right. Khosro, Iran is a $400 billion GDP nation. This blockade costs them about $500 million a day, nearly $4 billion a week. How quickly do you think this will decimate the finances of this struggling regime?
Even before the blockade was imposed, the regime had been rendered unable to pay its militias. When these men were dispatched on the streets to man checkpoints to intimidate Iranians to prevent protests, they were sleeping on the streets hungry and without water. That's the situation that the Islamic Republic finds itself in it. But as you mentioned in your report, there is one option for the Islamic Republic. It either absolutely capitulate, total surrender, total humiliating surrender, or it's total destruction of the whole regime. There is no in between with them.
Yeah, no, I mean, and as I just said, Trump will never sign an Iranian nuclear deal like Obama did just to get a deal, which is what they did. They just wanted to get a deal and end the threat and just push it down the road. He's not going to do that. So it's either going to be capitulate or die. Those are going to be the two options. Khosro, one more to you really quick. I've heard from inside Iran that there's very limited government services at all at this point for the people, that the regime is simply using what it has left to try and stamp out any uprising and just cling to power. Is that what you're hearing?
Absolutely. When you talk with folks inside the country, the price of food has skyrocketed, while the regime is paying Hezbollah in Lebanon to buy weapons and reconstruct its military bases. They have told Iranian people whose homes were damaged in this military operation that they don't have enough money for reconstruction. Right. As always, the regime's priority is killing Iranians and exporting terrorism.
Exactly. Richard, one more to you. How do you think this will end? Do you think Iran signs a real nuclear deal and has to just finally give up and does it? Or do you think we see some kind of a collapse here in the coming days or weeks?
Well, I think that we're seeing the Iranian response first to try to test the blockade, see if it can work. It seems to be working and holding. The next step will be whether or not they want to escalate. Do they want to go back to Islamabad, viewing the United States as having the leverage? Do they fire off a few missiles or drones at energy infrastructure in the Gulf again? They're going to have to calculate, though. This is a non-kinetic operation. The president has an escalation ladder, still has those bridges and power plants and refineries that he could hit. So they don't have a lot of good options here. I think they're going to have to go back to Islamabad and see what they can do at the table.
Okay. Richard Goldberg, Khosro Isfahani, guys, thanks so much. We appreciate it. All right, there is a new attempt to oust the president from office amid all of this. House Democrats unveiling legislation that would create a commission to assess whether the 25th Amendment should be invoked to remove Donald Trump from office. Yes, this is a serious thing. Democrats pulling this right after Joe Biden served for those 4 years is, of course, utterly hilarious, but welcome to politics. The bill has no shot at all. Even if it did, Trump could just veto it. It's basically a proposal from the House to try and use the 25th Amendment to their advantage, which is something that comes in the cabinet. Jamie Raskin says America is at a dangerous precipice, and it is now a matter of national security for Congress to intervene. So these are the people that we're dealing with. Congressman Brandon Gill knows all about these kinds of tactics. He joins us now. Good to see you, sir. So Trump is dangerous because he wants to confront the Iranian regime rather than just give it another $100 billion so it can bomb the Middle East and bomb the soldiers on our military bases. That makes him dangerous.
Exactly. This is purely political from the Democrats. And as you pointed out, it's particularly rich that Democrats would start suggesting that a president who, by the way, works like 20 hours a day every single day, day in and day out, it has some kind of issue. After we had a president for 4 years, Joe Biden, who couldn't string a sentence together, who was tripping up on his words every other day and didn't even know where he was half the time. So this is just a Democrat Party who doesn't like the fact that President Trump is doing the things that he said he was going to do on the campaign trail, has secured the borders, deporting illegal aliens, has had an incredibly successful foreign policy, and they know that they're losing.
Yeah, it is just the fact that they even have the audacity to talk about the 25th Amendment after what we just went through is the best part. Here's Dan Goldman, my congressman here in New York, I'm sad to say. The president is unwell and he's deteriorating daily. His recent ravings and outrageous social media posts point to a man who is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. We cannot leave that determination under the 25th Amendment to the president's cabinet alone, which is why they're trying to bring Congress into this. I want to just show you, here was Goldman a couple years ago during the weekend of Bernie's Biden presidency. Take a look.
But do you have concerns right now about President Biden's age?
No, I don't have any concerns. I think President Biden is incredibly experienced, knowledgeable, wise, and I don't have concerns about his age. I am a great admirer of President Biden. I think he will ultimately go down as one of the most consequential presidents. He was sharper than anyone I've spoken to about a very complex geopolitical, urgent issue.
So react to the guy that bought his seat with his daddy's money, if you would.
Well, again, this is a Democrat Party that knows no bounds in their shamelessness. Yeah. You know, we'll say one thing whenever Joe Biden is in the White House and tell the American people, do not believe what you can see with your eyes and hear with your ears every single day. Whenever he's on a debate stage and he's tripping over his words and he can't keep one policy straight from another. Whenever he's walking around the White House and clearly doesn't know where he is, trying to shake somebody's hand and then looks at the wrong person. Yeah. Democrats defended him that entire time. And it's absolutely, I mean, it's incredibly rich for them to turn around and suggest that President Trump is anything other than extremely mentally sharp right now. And also has a work ethic that outperforms anything any Democrats ever done.
And he's behaving as he always has. I mean, if you can have an issue with his social media and the stuff that he writes, and I think, you know, we've all seen some stuff and you're like, oh man, here we go again. But this is who he is. I mean, this is who he's been for the last 20, 30 years. You know, he hasn't, you know, there's been no change. You could tell if there was. I want to end this on this one with you because we always talk immigration with you. There's been some really impressive work being done by the Trump White House on fixing our legal immigration system, which we talk about a lot. It's not just about illegal in this country. Our legal immigration system has been radicalized. It has been exploited for a very long time. Cato Institute reporting the number of asylum seekers at ports of entry has fallen 99.9% after Trump eliminated that CBP One app scam that was created by Biden so that everybody could just claim asylum and walk right in. Refugees entering legally from abroad, that's fallen 90%. You see international student visas, international kids taking the spots in our colleges from our kids, down 40%. The H-1B, we've talked about this a lot, exploited for cheap labor. These are not experts from other countries just being exploited for cheaper labor, down 25%. Thanks to that $100,000 fee that's been imposed on it. And we are currently building about a mile of new wall every single day along your home state of Texas. Tom Homan says the border wall will be complete before Trump leaves office. Respond to all of that.
Well, first of all, if the Cato Institute is unhappy about the president's immigration policies, that's a good indication that he's going in the right direction. They've been an open borders organization for quite some time now. But this is what it looks like to have a president that puts the American worker first, that puts the American student first, who recognizes that we have been importing foreigners who have been taking American jobs and American student spots at colleges and universities, and simply says we've had enough of this. We want to prioritize our people. We live in America, and America should prioritize Americans. It's a simple concept, but one that it takes a real president who's got real leadership abilities to actually institute. Yeah. And you can never overemphasize the importance of the fact that President Trump actually got our border secure in record time. This is a crisis that America's been dealing with for decades now. It was far worse under the Biden administration, but we've had an existential border crisis for a long, long time, and this president fixed it.
And we will never forget that the previous administration created an app on a phone so that you can apply for asylum from anywhere in the world and just walk into our country. That's treason. Congressman, we appreciate you coming on. Good to see you.
Yep, thanks for having me.
All right, despite major progress on Iran, it was a very good couple of days and a decimated regime that now looks very desperate. Democrats are attempting to throw Iran a lifeline, doing it today with a war powers vote in the Senate. Republican Rand Paul joined them on this mission. We're going to ask him why he did this up next. Plus, later in news from the left, Jimmy Kimmel hitting back at critics that say his show is all about Trump.
Well-rounded human beings don't behave that way. Don't tell me what my job is.
It's our America. We conquered it. We built it. Great values like honesty and fairness. Great courage. A great nation needs a free press. Newsmax is it. 30 million Americans regularly go to Newsmax when they really need to know. They watch Newsmax TV at home. On the free Newsmax app, they go to Newsmax.com. Start today. Newsmax is real news for real people.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. With trillions of dollars vanishing from the stock portfolios of retiring Americans, many hardworking people I speak with are concerned about the holdings in their IRAs. But I have good news for you. Our team at Swiss America can show you how easy it is to own gold in your IRA. You see, even with economic turmoil all around us, gold continues to not only be a safe haven, but is also increasing to all-time highs. The volatility of markets has created a lot of undue stress for people. Wouldn't you like that peace of mind that diversifying into metals can provide? For over 40 years, Swiss America has helped people just like you own precious metals in your IRAs. So don't miss this opportunity. Call or text our team at the number on your screen to receive a free copy of our Gold IRA brochure today.
This smart home is going to the Hoyer family so they can live an independent life with their catastrophic injuries.
The whole house is just set up in a perfect way. All the normal complications of being in a chair. This place is a huge load off for that. The things that Tunnel to Towers Foundation has done is just a lot more than you would ever expect to get in your entire life.
Join us in supporting our nation's heroes and their families. It only takes $11 a month. Go to T2T.org now.
All right, so despite some tremendous progress with Iran and impressive elimination of the regime's ability to attack the West and fund terrorism around the world, the Senate took a vote on the War Powers Resolution for the fourth time today, and again, it did fail. Democrats attempting to block the president from potentially ordering further strikes on Iran, although they may not be necessary at this point. We're going to have to wait and see. Senator Rand Paul was the only Republican to join Democrats, claiming Iran was not an imminent threat to the United States when this operation was launched about 7 weeks ago. And the senator joins us now to talk about that. It's good to have you back on. So give us your explanation of your vote and your position. We'll start there.
Well, the Constitution's pretty clear. We debated this at the Constitutional Convention. The Founding Fathers said that they didn't want the power to declare or initiate war to be with the president. They wanted it to be with Congress. So the way you go to war constitutionally, if and when you go to war, is there has to be a debate in Congress, and Congress should vote to declare or to initiate war. That step hasn't happened, so we've skipped a very important constitutional step. Now, if we had the vote, you'd have to debate then whether or not it's in our national interest. I think our biggest threat to our security, to our national security, is our debt. So I think spending another $500, $700 billion on a war in Iran is not in our national security. I think it makes us weaker.
The way it was explained was it was an operation to try and eliminate a budding nuclear threat from Iran and a country that obviously we've known for a long time that Iran was a serious threat. We've talked last week quite a bit about how in 2015, when Obama wanted the JCPOA, everybody was more than aware that you had this very serious threat of a nuclear Iran that we were dealing with. That threat never went away. We just kind of have been kicking it down the road for all these years. If this was just, if this was just an operation to eliminate
exactly
that threat, is that a war?
That's not exactly true.
Okay.
President Trump bombed them about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And at the end of that bombing, which took about 12 days with Israel and with the U.S. bombing, the president's administration told us their nuclear capabilities had been obliterated. So that's what we were told 6 months ago. So then I would think it would be incumbent upon them to tell us how that's changed. I don't think there's anything imminent here that couldn't have had a debate and a vote in Congress, and it's still what should occur. We should have a debate and vote on whether or not we should go to war.
Let me just ask this, and this is an honest question. Is there better, the president, I assume, has better intelligence than anyone in the Senate or any committee would have, right?
Yeah. Well, just recently, last week in the House, the Director of National Intelligence gave a briefing, and in that briefing, she said that the intelligence estimate of all of our intelligence agencies has not changed, that they're no closer, and that there is no evidence that there was a rush to create a bomb or to create a bomb that would go on a missile that could reach the United States. So, no, our intelligence agencies have said there hasn't been a change.
Do you not believe that Iran was working toward, some kind of, I mean, the way I've heard it described makes sense to me. They were building this ballistic apparatus to basically surround their nuclear program so that it could never be destroyed in the near future. And we were trying to undermine that move to protect the greater West from what could be a very dangerous situation. That, to me, makes sense.
Well, they've had highly enriched uranium for quite a while. Yeah. We have bombed them. We have bombed them and bombed them. You can't bomb away uranium, so the uranium still exists and could be enriched. There's no intelligence evidence that since the Trump administration said they obliterated the nuclear threat last year, there's no evidence that they've reconstituted or were enriching above the 60, 70% where they were last year, which was supposedly obliterated. So, yeah, I think it's incumbent upon people, if they tell you something was obliterated, and then they tell you they have to bomb it again and again, and this is going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars, disrupt the world's oil supply, and have everybody in America paying $5 a gallon for the gas, yeah, it is incumbent upon them to show you the evidence that something has changed.
Two things. I think when you're dealing with a very dangerous terror regime, the idea of going before Congress and discussing something obviously is going to give them a pretty dramatic heads up as to what exactly we're going to do, which is why I think the War Powers Act is, they move around this so often.
When you have several aircraft carriers, all your destroyers, and thousands of soldiers and troops already in the Persian Gulf, guess what? They might know you're going to attack. But this was not a surprise attack. We told them we were coming. Even if there were an argument of that, there is an argument of imminence that the president can react if there's an imminent threat. And then it's incumbent upon them to prove to us that it was imminent. But the other thing about this is, this has been going on for 47 years. So there is no imminence to this. There is no argument why we couldn't have had a vote on this.
Let me just finally ask you one thing, and I only have 30 seconds to do it. There's a good chance that we're on the verge of starving this regime out of power. The move that they're making with the blockade, there's Israeli reporting that the president of Iran says they only have a couple weeks left, that their economy is going to collapse. If we can fundamentally change this regime in Iran, and we don't have to worry about this in the future. If we can do this through what's been accomplished here in the last 7 or 8 weeks, if that can happen, if this ends with a fundamentally changed Iran, would you concede that what we've just done is a good thing for ourselves, for the greater West, and for the world?
I wish the best for the Iranian people. I hope they can find their freedom. I don't think you can give people freedom I think they have to fight for themselves. I've seen no evidence of an uprising yet. If there is an uprising, that'll be great. But if we're going to base our foreign policy on freeing people, why not free the people of China?
I'm not saying
are you ready for that one?
I didn't say anything about the people of Iran, though. I'm saying for ourselves.
Freedom of the people is what we're fighting for.
No.
Well, if freedom is what your goal is, China could be next. North Korea could be next.
I didn't say anything about the people of Iran. I said if we can fundamentally change this regime for a safer West and safer United States, you would maintain that's a good thing that we did.
All of the articles right now say that the people in power, we knocked off one level, a second level. All of the reports are that the people that are left are worse. They are more fervent. They are more zealous.
Trump's not saying that.
They are more Islamists. The people that are left. We didn't get to the good people. It's not like the Democrats and the Jeffersons are left over there. The whole place is, well, no, actually, most of the press are saying that the people over there are much worse, actually, and much more hardline, and they aren't our friends, and there isn't going to be a rosy scenario.
But
if there is a rosy scenario, I will applaud, but I won't say that we should commit war around the world to try to free the world. It's a recipe for bankruptcy for our country.
Yeah. Okay. The Israelis are reporting that the president of Iran is very nervous that they're at the cusp of collapse, and our president is saying that the people that they're negotiating with are much less hardline. I'll leave it there. There's two sides to that story. Senator, I do have to leave it there just based on time. Good to see you as always. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Despite tremendous fraud and waste exposed, rather than cut taxes, the left continues to demand more revenue and more programs to make life more affordable. Is that the way the world works? Trump's senior counsel for trade, Peter Navarro, dismantles that theory up next.
People think news just happens. It doesn't. It happens because there's someone there to capture the moment, to explain it and share it. That's my job. I go where news breaks and give you the facts. Join me for the record on Newsmax.
Mike Hammond here, founder of Signal Relief. Meet Dr. Beth Dupree, breast cancer surgeon for over 35 years.
In my surgical career, I have treated thousands of patients, and finding effective pain relief has always been a priority. Believe me, I was skeptical, but Signal Relief caught my attention because it actually works. Clinical trials show over 85% of participants felt relief within 72 hours, with nearly half noticing a significant difference in just 15 minutes. Just place it near or above wherever you have the pain, whether it's your back, your shoulder, your neck, or your knee. Signal Relief Patch brings proven relief. I recommend it to my patients, family, and friends, and I get to witness and experience their pain relief firsthand, and that brings a smile to my face.
Join the hundreds of thousands who have experienced relief with the Signal Relief Patch, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Trust Dr. Dupree and me. The patch works.
Total Beats, America's best-selling Beats brand, is available at Walmart. Total Beats blood pressure support soft chews contain a key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. Take control of your health. Head to Walmart and get Total Beats blood pressure support soft chews today.
When my mother heard about Pure Talk's latest offer, she said, "Michael, that's a third of what I'm paying my current provider. How's that even possible?" I said, "Ma, your current provider spent $12 billion last year on advertising and promotion. Pure Talk hired me to make a few commercials on my iPhone. That's why you can get unlimited talk and text with plenty of data on a crazy fast 5G network for just $25 a month. You're welcome. Pure Talk, everything you need, nothing you don't."
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Order online and save $45. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS. That's urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS.
As Americans, we're fair and logical. 83% of us favor requiring a photo ID to vote. In fact, most of the civilized world requires it, but not us. We need to be able to trust that only eligible Americans are casting ballots. Democrats oppose voter ID for no coherent reason. Republicans favor it but haven't acted. What are they waiting for? Call your United States senators and tell them to pass the Save America Act today.
Well, to try and satisfy Kami Zoran Mamdani, New York's Governor Kathy Hochul is flipping on her refusal to raise taxes further as New York's tax base continues to flee. She knew what this would mean. She's doing it anyway because that's politics. Hochul now proposing a new tax on second homes worth more than $5 million, in addition to the property tax that they're thinking about implementing to try and save the budget, which would be a tax on everybody. Claiming it'll raise $600 million a year, this pied-à-terre tax, and help with the city's crippling $6 billion budget shortfall. The tax could also include a provision that allows for properties at higher values to be taxed at a higher rate as well. So what will really happen with this plan? Well, the city will see far less than that $600 million estimation. They always have very rosy estimations of how much money will come in, and the entire tax base will further erode. And in just a few years, there will be nothing to show for this huge tax. In fact, it'll end up being a net loss. This as Zoran vows to open the first city-run grocery store in East Harlem, subsidized food for the lucky few who get through the door in the first hour before a store like that is completely raided and destroyed. This is an idea, mark my words, is going to blow up in this guy's face, but we're not going to see it for like 3 years. Peter Navarro joins us now, Senior Counsel for Trade and Manufacturing. The first city-run grocery store going to take 3 years to build, Peter. It's going to cost $30 million, and that's their rosy estimate at this current time. How bad will it be?
Yeah, but the baloney's free, Rob. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Look, people understand the shell game here. It's like the Democrats, particularly those Democrats, they're socialists. What is socialism? Socialism is the redistribution of income from part of the nation to the other part of the nation. So what the Democrats do is they spend a bunch of money on welfare programs and all sorts of things that they give to people who then will vote for them. Yep. And then, hey, they fulfill their promise. They try to take it from everybody else. But it's not the rich they take it from. It's literally from everybody else. But I think the best way to answer them is to wish you a Merry Christmas, Rob. And why do I say that? Because today was Christmas. It felt like Christmas. This is the first April 15th, Rob, since 1982, the year after Reagan passed his tax cut, that the American people actually enjoyed tax day. I mean, check it out. This was, and I promised this, as did the boss, back when the big, beautiful bill passed, the biggest rebate and refund in American history. And it delivered. And the thing I want to really make sure, Rob, tonight is like, when that bill was passed, big, beautiful bill, it took a lot of heat from the legacy media and the Democrat Party. And the polling for us was not great because people bought the spin. It was like the usual crap that came out. But what we have now, as of today, is the lived experience of tens of millions of Americans who understand that President Trump is about making them better off, and the Democrats are about just the opposite. So think about it. Seniors, right? No tax on Social Security. Great. Hey, manufacturers, no tax on overtime. All those blue-collar workers making stuff, and there's going to be more of them. That's a good deal. We had so much fun. I think it was yesterday, the day before, we had DoorDash grandma
the McDonald's
come to the Oval. I don't know if you saw that little set piece, but it was genius.
Yeah, it was.
But look, she made an extra $8,000 because there's no tax on tips. And then like the Detroit folks, like people are happy in Detroit now making autos because there were a lot of Americans who benefited from a tax break from buying an American made car. I could go on and on.
The average, Peter, the average refund this filing season is over $3,400. That's 11% higher than last year, 19% higher than the average return over the prior 4 years. Those are the numbers. And what it really comes down to is there's two ways of looking at this country. If you want to get money back in your pocket, you can either agree to raise taxes and think that the government's going to give you something back and that they're actually going to be efficient for the first time in the history of governments, or you can just have the government say, just don't give us as much and keep it in your pocket. And anybody that believes the former instead of the latter, I think, needs to have their head examined.
Well, going back to our Christmas theme, I mean, April 15th traditionally is a day of mourning in America, where American families, gather around the kitchen table and they hold a wake for about 25% to 30% of the income they have to give to Uncle Sam every year, when they prefer to keep at least some more of that. So it's a sad day, okay? Now, never mind the hassle of going through all of that stuff.
Right.
We made it easier to file, and people are getting a bunch of money back. So what's not to like about that? So I'm hoping that as we talk more and more about this, the big, beautiful bill will get the kind of love in the polling that it should get. We can't, Rob, you know this.
Yeah.
You're in New York City. You're in the belly of that friggin' beast right now.
Yeah.
We can't live like that. We just
and especially in the
like
wake of all the fraud and the waste that we have learned about how ineffective our government is and how much of our money they will just let be stolen. The idea of asking people to pay more, like Liz Warren is right now, is just so absurd. I got to leave it there just based on time. But we appreciate you coming on, Peter Navarro.
Always good to see you, man.
Love the economic plan from this White House. Good to see you, sir. Thanks so much. A California Democrat running for Congress admits California's disaster was his own party's fault. Antonio Villaraigosa joins us up next.
It happened under our watch. This wasn't because of Donald Trump.
Hey, I'm Carl Higbee from Newsmax. Look, I'm unapologetically pro-American, and honestly, this is the one place that lets me call it how it is. I'm not holding back. I'll give it to you straight every single night.
Millions of Americans rely on a statin to reduce cholesterol, but statins can deplete CoQ10 levels. I recommend Cunol CoQ10 with 3 times better absorption and the #1 cardiologist recommended form. It helps replenish what statins deplete. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Like a relentless weed, moderate to severe Crohn's disease symptoms can keep coming back. Break away to what's possible with Tremfya. With rapid remission at 12 weeks, and fewer bowel movements and less abdominal pain at 4 weeks. Most patients achieve remission at 1 year, and some patients saw visible healing of the intestinal lining. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Backed by over 15 years of clinical research. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today.
The name's Hampton. I've come a long way from my Humpty days, and I've learned a thing or two about crashes and falls. That's why I invest with Willow Wealth. They make it easy to diversify my portfolio with private markets. Plus, portfolios including private markets have outperformed traditional ones for the past 20 years. Not that it's a competition. Diversify your portfolio to help rise above public market volatility and level up your game. Those who know, know. Willow Wealth.
AI company Palantir makes critical decisions for governments around the world. In 2019, Palantir bought $50 million in gold in case of black swan events. Not surprising what followed. In 2020, a pandemic shut down the global economy. And in 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. In 2023, we had a regional banking collapse. And in 2026, could a 1929-style market crash be the final straw? Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 888-528-4290 before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer 9 years in a row. Home of the no fee for life IRA. Patriot Gold Group is patriots protecting patriots. Call now, 888-528-4290.
Slotomania, the #1 free slots game, presents the iconic Betty Boop, featuring amazing reels, exciting bonus games, and grand jackpots. Yes! Download Slotomania now, play Betty Boop slots, and get 25 free spins and 15 million free coins.
So Dale, you really need to get that colon cancer screening.
Dad, it's been forever. I need to be in there.
Wrap it up.
Come on, Dad. It's taking forever.
How much longer?
It's been an hour. Are you done yet?
Dale, don't worry. We can do it with just a blood test. Shield.
Okay, let's do it.
Shield is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved Shield from the company trusted in blood tests for cancer for over a decade.
All right, so one of the rape allegations against Congressman Eric Swalwell is looking quite credible. Yesterday, we heard from Lana Drews, who claimed that Swalwell took her to an event where she had just one glass of wine, and she went with Swalwell to his hotel room at the Montrose in West Hollywood so he could grab some paperwork. Eric allegedly raped and choked her to the point where she lost consciousness. Well, FCC documents appear to likely corroborate that story, showing Swalwell's campaign spending around $360 at the Montrose Hotel on July 18th of 2018. The end of Swalwell's campaign, of course, now pushes billionaire Tom Steyer into the lead among Democrats in California. Steyer rolling out a new 5-point immigration plan. The billionaire wants to jail ICE agents as they round up illegals for deportation in the state. And he also believes that despite California's budget nearly doubling in just a matter of maybe 10 years or so, the state simply just has a revenue problem, according to Tom Steyer, and must tax the rich even further. Take a listen.
It's time for billionaires like me and big corporations to buy into the future of California and be willing to pay more. I am not scared about paying more money. I think that everybody who's succeeded in this state owes a huge debt to the people who built this state and the working people who make this state run and work their asses off. We need to change our tax system. We need more revenue. We need it to be fair. And I pledge to do all of those things.
Anybody that intelligently understands California and how much money they've spent knows how ridiculous that just sounded, by the way. Challenging that flawed narrative is former Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, who said this earlier this week on CNN, actually got quite a bit of attention for this. Take a listen.
This state's unaffordable. We have the highest gas prices in the United States of America. We have the highest utility costs in the continental United States and the highest home prices. It happened under our watch. This wasn't because of Donald Trump. This was because of policies that we created that have made it impossible for people to afford this state.
It's honest there. Former Mayor Villaraigosa, now running for governor, joins us now. He is a Democrat. Sir, it's good to have you back on. I want to just let you know I lived in the state when you were the mayor of Los Angeles, lived in Los Angeles. 10 years ago, your state budget was $175 billion. It's now getting up closer to $350 billion. It seems you're maybe the only Democrat that understands that this is not a revenue problem in your state.
You hit it right on the head, Rob, and I didn't just say it on CNN. I've said it from the first day I got in this race. If we have a revenue problem, it's because we have a spending problem. Jerry Brown left us with a $350 million surplus. We've had good, economic years in California. Notwithstanding, we've been perennial deficits. The LAO, the legislative analyst, has opined that for multiple years going forward, we're looking at an $18 to $35 billion deficit each year. That's not sustainable. And so I've taken on the billionaire tax and I've said, look, the federal government, I do believe that people that make that kind of money ought to pay more than you and me, but that's a federal government responsibility. They'll just lead this state, and they're already leading this state. And so what I've said is, let's focus on living within our means the way families have to and businesses have to.
Right. You have tremendous capital flight out of your state that nobody really wants to talk about. They just want to add more money to it. We saw, the tremendous waste and fraud that's been exposed. You had J.D. Vance just suspending that task force, that fraud task force, suspending nearly 500 hospices in Los Angeles County that have been deemed to be fraudulent. It is just wild to see, the mismanagement of that state. Your campaign for a Democrat appears to be very common sense in California. You want to build again. You want to cut red tape, make energy affordable. I have to say this, though. You've been in government for a very long time in that state as a Democrat, and you've gone along with a lot of the things that have decimated the quality of living in that state. Why should a voter in California that is so desperate for change, why would they trust you over somebody like Steve Hilton?
Well, let's be clear. I've been out of office for 13 years, so I haven't been part of the decision-making that brought us here. I've been in the private sector the entire time. And I can tell you this, I understand that it's broken and I want to fix it. That's why I've argued that I intend to be transformative in 4 years and prefer that than mediocre in 8. I've said I'm going to run for 1 term because every single day, I'm going to focus on the tough challenges we face, whether or not they're popular, whether or not there will be consequences for me because I'm taking on the tough issues and the special interests behind them. And I'm not running again. Right. So I won't be looking at the next election and failing to make the tough calls.
I have got 15 seconds left here, but is it time for the Democrat Party to come back toward common sense, especially in a place like California?
Well, I'm running on common sense. That's what I could tell you.
Okay. I got you. Former Mayor Villaraigosa of Los Angeles. Sir, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
All right. It might be about time to put old Joe out to pasture. Coming up next.
Hey, did you try to look at Barack?
Greg trusts Prevagen for his brain, and this is his story.
Hi, I'm Greg. I live in Bloomington, Illinois. I'm not an actor. I'm just a regular person. 8 years ago, I just didn't feel like I was on my game. I started taking Prevagen, and I want people to know that Prevagen has worked for me. Give it a try. I want it to help you just like it has helped me. I've been taking Prevagen for 8 years now, and it's still helping me tremendously.
Prevagen has been the #1 selling brain supplement nationwide for over 10 years.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. Most investors believe their IRA, 401k, and bank accounts are reliable and safe. But what if our economy becomes so dire that you're restricted from accessing your own money? The fact is that should your bank be in trouble for holding bad loans, the burden could fall on you to help bail them out. Even more concerning is that U.S. financial regulations allow banks to impose withdrawal limits on your hard-earned savings. But there's something you can do about it. Our team at Swiss America has a report called The Secret War on Cash. Learn how to protect yourself with assets that can remain outside the control of banks and other financial institutions. For over 40 years, Swiss America has been one of the most trusted metal firms in the country. So don't wait. Call or text the number on your screen today for financial peace of mind in these uncertain times.
At Allegiance, we do it differently. Flags 100% made in America by Americans with American materials.
We're proud to create jobs right here in South Carolina. It might not be the easiest way, but it's the right way.
We make American flags the way they should be made, where they should be made.
Join our pledge to keep the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to get your high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
The pain is gone. It's gone. I was wheeled in. I couldn't even move 5 feet without the wheelchair. I was in awful pain.
Are you able to get onto the bed?
I doubt it.
No?
We went through the whole intake interview, did the MRI, x-rays. I was awake through the surgery, came back to recovery. I was there for 10 minutes, and I got up and I walked.
Venati succeeds where others fail.
It's April, time for digital spring cleaning.
I shall purge the clutter!
Whoa, use PCmatic. Our whitelist technology automatically cleans out malware and junk files without...
Delete the cookies. Delete!
Without breaking the computer. Get PCmatic. We clean the smart way. American-made security for homes, businesses, and government agencies.
Visit PCmatic.com today.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. It might be time to put old Joe out to pasture. The former president spotting what he thought was a familiar face during his portrait unveiling at Syracuse University School of Law. Just enjoy.
Turn around to one guy and say, Barack, what are you doing? Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. I feel like he should be standing on the right and I should be standing on the left. Hey, you done this look at Barack? As I say, you've done good, fella.
I don't actually think he thought that was Barack Obama, but it also doesn't really look anything like Barack Obama other than he's a skinny black guy. That was Jeffrey Scruggs, the chairman of the school's board of trustees. Joe Biden just set him out there and laugh at whatever the hell he does at this point. Next up, late night host Jimmy Kimmel firing back at those mocking him because his show does nothing except obsess about Donald Trump.
I just can't imagine on those nights talking about anything other than what we are talking about. I think it would be embarrassing if we didn't talk about this stuff. It would be shameful. I love telling jokes. I love being funny. I love when the audience laughs. But well-rounded human beings don't behave that way. And to say that, well, your job is this, it makes me, I bristle at that because, first of all, don't tell me what my job is.
He acts like he says on those nights as if there's many nights that he talks about Trump every day. It's the only thing he does anymore. If you turn on the show, he's talking about Trump. That's every day. That's all he does. Next up, there might not be a dumber television show in the world than The View at this point. Take a listen to this one. Here are the ladies slamming Trump's narcissism after the president reposted a photo that somebody had made for him that depicted him as Jesus Christ, which he says he thought he was just a doctor. I don't really know why he reposted it. But even better than that is the way the reaction came, especially from Joy Behar. Take a look.
Jesus really himself did not run around saying, I'm the Messiah, I'm the Messiah.
Jesus kind of did say he was
you're
the
supposed to have a little bit of...
That's exactly what Jesus said. I am the Messiah.
You know what? No, he did not.
Jesus was more
powerful than
the Pope's got him. He's got God behind. She just said, I knew Jesus.
Jesus was not narcissistic like this guy.
But when you are the Messiah, it's not narcissism to say it.
Yes, it is.
It's just got to be the stupidest show. And remember that there are millions of housewives that watch this show every single day and think that these people have any idea what they're talking about. Finally, in this news from the left, big trouble over at left-wing pretend media watchdog group Mediaite, which attacks us constantly, by the way. Colby Hall, editor of the newsletter over there called One Sheet, suspended for just completely fabricating quotes in his stories. When Mediaite launched the newsletter back in January, they said Colby is truly one of the most knowledgeable and connected media industry observers in America. He'll bring his unique brand of thoughtful, intelligent, pulls-no-punches analysis to a platform that couldn't fit him more perfectly. One of the made-up quotes was attributed to somebody who actually works at Mediaite. He just writes quotes and makes them up and attributes them to other people. While attempting to explain himself, he blamed AI and his spreadsheet process. Okay. All right, coming up, why do these miserable, filthy blue cities only clean up when they have company coming in?
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
You can join the Tunnel to Towers mission to do good by donating your car to today's veterans. Your car donation will help Gold Star families, as well as injured veterans, our first responders, and our homeless veterans. Donating your car is quick and simple. Any car is accepted, and we will pick up the car for free. Simply call 844-BRAVES.
By donating your car, you can make a real difference. You can do good.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell at all because of my excess skin. Sono Bello changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit, total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give Sono Bello a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is Sono Bello's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
Sono Bello targeted the areas diet exercise could not do. I found me again.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 five-star reviews, and Lift EX is exclusively available at Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to Sono Bello.
Call Sono Bello for your free consultation today.
Hi, I'm Troy Aikman. I've always loved football and music, and that's what led me to Venue, one of the fastest growing publicly traded entertainment companies. Now they're offering Fire Suites, absolute triple net real estate delivering an 11% annual return paid monthly. Simple, predictable, passive income. Visit investvenue.com to learn more.
Mike Hammond here, founder of Signal Relief. Meet Dr. Beth Dupree, breast cancer surgeon for over 35 years.
In my surgical career, I have treated thousands of patients, and finding effective pain relief has always been a priority. Believe me, I was skeptical, but Signal Relief caught my attention because it actually works. Clinical trials show over 85% of participants felt relief within 72 hours, with nearly half noticing a significant difference in just 15 minutes. Just place it near or above wherever you have the pain, whether it's your back, your shoulder, your neck, or your knee. Signal Relief Patch brings proven relief. I recommend it to my patients, family, and friends, and I get to witness and experience their pain relief firsthand, and that brings a smile to my face.
Join the hundreds of thousands who have experienced relief with the Signal Relief Patch, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Trust Dr. Dupree and me. The patch works.
Protect your family. Buy LifeVac now.
Thank you, Daddy.
That was us over 10 years ago from the LifeVac's first commercial in our living room.
Now LifeVac has saved 5,000 lives all over the world. All these people were saved by LifeVac.
Thousands of people choke to death every year, one child every 5 days.
These tragedies don't have to happen. LifeVac is the only FDA-authorized anti-choking device. Please consider protecting yourself, your family, your community. Go to lifevac.com today.
Thanks, Dad.
Finally tonight, ending the show with a story that'll just piss you off, because why not? Seattle hosting a few World Cup games coming up here in June, and the city has decided to make itself look really good while on the world stage, something that it refuses to do for its tax-paying residents at any other time. New numbers from the cleanup effort: 5.3 million pounds of waste have been removed, more than 660,000 needles cleaned up off the streets of Seattle. I'm serious. Following in Gavin Newsom's footsteps, who did the same thing in San Francisco 2023 when Xi Jinping came to his San Francisco, to the city they used to be the mayor of. Here was Gavin back then.
I know folks say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true, because it's true.
What a total ass. Finnerty is up next. I mean, how much they hate their own residents. They won't do this for anyone except company.
Just stop voting for Democrats. I just stopped voting for Democrats. I wish I cared about soccer more. I mean, the World Cup here is going to be a big deal, but I'm not a huge soccer guy. Rob, comment?
I don't care about soccer, and why can't they clean up Seattle for the people of Seattle?
And Los Angeles and San Francisco and Boston. Rob will do it again tomorrow. Finnerty starts right now.
All right.